Welcome to Geography 3100, US and Canada. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions about the contents of this video. Hello, and once again, welcome to Geography 3100. This course is about understanding our world. If we stop there, it wouldn't even be all that bad, because really that's what it's about. It's about understanding the United States and Canada, basically this continent-sized piece of land that we live on in North America, and so that's not bad. But I want to break it down a little bit further, as well as about understanding our world. Understanding our world in what way? Well, a primary lens we'll be looking through is the lens of geography, having improved insight into the geography of the United States and Canada and what that means. Also, there's a few specifics even within that. So geographic insight, but paying special attention to urban, economic, and sustainability issues. So if you look at all of those things, that kind of gives a nice overall statement that really defines the course. And again, we could probably even stop there and just say that's what it's about. But there's yet another word that I haven't introduced yet, that you haven't seen in the syllabus or in the name of the course, that I want you to think about a little bit more. So does it mean urban, economic, and sustainability terms, those particular words are not helpful? No, they're really helpful. They help us to understand, because I think all of us have a basic idea of things that are urban, things that are economic, and even the sustainability aspect. I think in our modern culture and society, people are thinking about sustainability an awful lot. So those terms are all helpful, but there's one more term that I want to introduce and propose to you that I think really gets at the core, the spirit of what this course is all about. And that term is flourish. So have you heard this term before, this word? I assume that you have. This is not an amazing word like, oh, I've never heard of it. I think it's around, people understand something about what it is, but at the same time, it's probably not a word that we use every day. I don't use this word every day. Do you? Maybe you do, but I think probably not. It's a word that is special in terms of we use it in special occasions, maybe in specific circumstances. So I'm wondering, when would you use the word flourish? Or when you hear the word flourish, what does it mean to you? If I said a person, a given person, maybe a person that you know and I know, and I say, that person is flourishing. What does that mean to you? Or if I say, kind of in line with what we're talking about in this class, a specific place is for flourishing. What does that mean? Is that good? Is that bad? Is it indifferent? What exactly does that say to you? If I say a person or place or thing is flourishing in one way or another. So I just want to challenge you with that. So that really, all of this discussion really comes down to this question: what does flourish mean to you? What images, what other words come up in association with this word that you would say, that's a synonym? It means the same thing, or it helps to explain what the word flourishing is all about. And so I'm proposing for you right now that the word flourish gets at the core of what we're talking about this semester in this course. And so a dictionary definition, just for one, a bit of a more formal approach here: flourish, an intransitive verb, meaning, number one, to grow luxuriantly, to thrive. Does that make sense? I hope that lines up with your understanding of flourish. So that certainly lines up with where this course is going. So in this course, we'll be thinking about places that, well, it's pretty extreme. To grow luxuriantly, to thrive, to certainly be growing or expanding is a part of it. To be thriving. Thriving is more than growing, though, isn't it? So we'll have to talk about that as we go along. Number two, another aspect of this that I think really number one and number two go together, okay? Number two, to achieve success, to prosper. So what about a place or a person? We could talk about people or places or a group of people, a state, for example, or people in a given city who are growing luxuriantly. Growing in what way? We'll have to think about that. But thriving, achieving success, prospering. All of those things are what we're getting at with flourishing. So if you do a web search for flourishing, what do you come up with? If you do an image search, you're going to get images that look something like this. I'm not saying you'll find this exact one, but this idea of a tree that's growing in a green field and there's water there, and it's a landscape that looks productive in an ecological sense. Okay? That's the kind of idea that I want us to get at when we're talking about flourishing. Or, you know, another image, a flower that's growing and obviously doing well. It's beautiful to look at, but it's also healthy in many ways. And so it's growing, it's thriving, it's prosperous, it's successful. That's what we're talking about there. So all of that's good. But if you think about the tree that's growing, the flower that's growing, kind of an ecological connection there, I want to suggest that we're after something that's even more than just that ecological connection. So I want us to think about flourishing, the word flourish, and the idea of flourishing in an even broader, deeper, and more fundamental sense than just an ecological sense. So don't get me wrong. I want us to include that ecological sense and context, absolutely. But I'm also wanting to talk about places in particular as including ecological flourishing, but also having a human dimension to flourishing. So what does this image say to you when you see this? Interlinked hands. And of course, these are not just any hands. These are hands of different people from different groups, from different races. And we're saying, essentially here, coming together. So a connection with flourishing, a human dimension of flourishing. Or what about healthy communities? And of course, I'm talking about healthy here in terms of this sense of connection, of fraternity, in terms of people fundamentally getting along and working together and understanding each other. So there's that. What about another connection along this human line that we're talking about? Places where people have opportunity to connect, where they have relationships. So the social, this cultural, this understanding, that's all part of it. But then there's also, on top of all that, not only are people getting along, there's also the opportunity to have employment, to earn a living. That there's places where you can get a job. That's also a part of this broad idea of flourishing. And then build on top of that, places where you can have a healthy lifestyle, you can enjoy living, you can get out and about. And so that's what we're talking about with flourishing here. So kind of to wrap things up a little bit, we'll talk about this more in class, but flourishing I want to propose as a broad framework for Geography 3100 this semester, our discussions. Comprehensive multidimensional wellness, not just one aspect or dimension. So we're not only talking about the ecological, we're also not only talking about economic. Sometimes we can overemphasize economic, I think, and say, if we can only have jobs in this place, if we could generate a lot of jobs, then that is flourishing. Well, it's flourishing in part, but what if you were developing a lot of jobs and you had a big impact on the natural environment, the physical environment? Hurting one part of the place or one aspect of the place while building another aspect of the place, that's not really flourishing in the way that I'm talking about here. So comprehensive multidimensional wellness, that's what we're really getting at. And that's what I want us to be talking about this semester here. So key theme, I'd like you to watch for this. as we're talking through the semester. I'm going to mention flourishing and the word flourish a little as we go along, but watch for flourishing. Maybe you'll see an ecosystem where there's some aspect of flourishing, or a workplace, or an industrial complex, or a city, even a community, even a region like Dallas, Fort Worth, or Texas. In what ways could we see these places as flourishing, and are there ways in which they're not? It almost helps us to analyze what's going on in these places. So that's what we'll be getting at as we're going through the semester. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in class, and I'm looking forward to talking about flourishing and understanding flourishing and places together. Thanks for viewing this video resource. I hope you found it helpful. Take care.